Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be examining migration, and specifically we're going to be looking at some of the facts and myths with regards to this topic. However, this is going to be a discussion based video, so please bear with me. I'm going to be discussing this all live, so I do apologize if I make any slips or any small mistakes, as I'm going to be filming this all in one go. So the first statement I want to examine is, are immigrants overrunning our country? And are most of them here illegally? In my opinion, this is incorrect. Now, the reason why I think it's incorrect is because if we look at the United States of America, we can see that there are currently 42.4 million immigrants in the United States of America, both here legally and illegally. This is about 13.5% of the total US population. So this is by no means overrunning our country or overrunning any country. Now, out of these immigrants, approximately 10.7 million are undocumented immigrants, what we consider to be illegal immigrants. They've entered the country without paperwork and therefore are illegal. Now, in the United States of America, this is 3.5% of the total nation's population. So again, by no means are they overrunning country. Overall, therefore, I think we can really truly say that this myth is debunked. Now, there are some countries that have huge percentage of migrants, such as some Arabic countries, such as Qatar and Doha, where they have a very, very large percentage of the population that is immigrant. However, most of these immigrants are there on short-term work visas and move on. They're not granted permanent stay in the country. So let's move on to the second statement. Immigrants are mainly undesirable. Again, I have to say that in my opinion, this is incorrect. And as we're about to see, this is incorrect mainly based on two reasons. Firstly, we've discussed that the higher percentage of the people in the country are considered to be migrants who are legally documented and are legally allowed to stay in that country. And by virtue of the fact that they're legally allowed to stay in that country, that normally is because of two reasons. Firstly, as we can see in Table 1, if again we're looking at the United States of America, these are because they've been granted access or legal residency status based on having relatives or family members already in the country. So because of that, we really want them to be here. They are desirable because they are relative. They are people who are related to citizens already in the country, and therefore to try and maintain a good, healthy social and family basis, we want them in our country. We want our citizens to be happy, in other words. And Table 2 is a much clearer example of why these people are actually desirable. So if we look at the people who are not related in the country, most of these immigrants are here to work or in a country to work, and they gain access to the country based on certain skills that they bring. So these people bring extraordinary abilities in maybe sciences or arts or education. They are outstanding professionals or they're researchers. They hold down a profession. They are skilled workers that maybe are not that maybe we do not have enough in the country itself, and we need to bring them in from the outside. They're considered to be special immigrants. And some of these are even business people who've invested more than $500,000 US in, say, the US industries. Okay, so these are, by definition, desirable people. They are helping the economy. They're ensuring that jobs work, that technology happens. And therefore, we must clearly say that this myth is debunked. These people, these immigrants, are desirable. So the next statement, illegal immigration or illegal immigrants are mainly undesirable. This is quite a complex question, and I really think in this situation that I've got to say a maybe. Now bear with me, please. So, although it is not 100% clear-cut, undocumented means illegal. And we must really say that any illegal activity is by its very nature considered to be undesirable. And even if we ignore the illegal part of this immigration, we must also take into account that we're going to lose taxes because these people are not going to be documented. They're not going to be paying full taxes. They can maybe bring in various diseases because if they're undocumented, it means that they won't have gone through any health checks or quarantine. Say, for example, like we have the situation now with COVID-19. They can also have links to crime, especially if they gain access to the country through some criminal gang. And in addition to that, undocumented immigrants can be taken advantage of. So they are undesirable members of our society, mainly because they create a type of subculture in our society, and they're scared to take part in everyday life of society because they're always worried about being picked up and deported because they are undocumented. Now, we do need to make clear, academically speaking, when everybody comes in and they start arguing, oh yes, but these people have lots of desirable benefits. In reality, no. There is no advantage to be an undocumented immigrant. And this is not to say that these people are bad people or they do not have useful skills. Just on a country basis, there is no advantage because of some of the reasons that we've talked about. However, because some of these people do have skills and do have some benefits that they can bring that can become desirable, it is very easy to change them from the context of undesirable and make them desirable by legalizing them. So the argument that we should deport every single one of them as a matter of course, I think is the strange one that we need to examine. I do think that some of these immigrants, especially if they are undocumented, but they've been in the country for many years or for a long period of time, we do need to carefully look at a case-by-case basis about deportation and to make a clear judge on whether or not these people can be productive and useful members of our society. However, if we're looking at this question, we must say that in essence this statement is fact. Undocumented immigrants are mainly undesirable. And that's why I use the word mainly, not completely undesirable, just mainly. Next statement. Immigrants hurt our country financially by taking jobs and services without paying taxes. Again, this is a very complex statement, and in my opinion, I think this is another maybe. There are probably two aspects of this. So let's look at these two different parts of the question. Right? I think overall we must say now that this is a debunked statement. But illegal migrants can hurt our country financially, or any country financially, because, again, we've mentioned they don't pay full taxes. And they can take jobs and services from otherwise legal residents of the country, which is not something that we want. And I think it's fair to say that both legal and illegal immigrants can remove money from an economy by sending money home in the form of remittances. And I know this from a fact because I work internationally and I send a lot of my money that I earn home to my home bank accounts and to my home investments, which is money that I'm not then spending in the economy of the country that I am legally residing in. However, all migrants, both legal and illegal, do pay some taxes, especially taxes like VAT. An ad valorem tax or a tax on any product that is purchased in a shop. And we've also discussed before that most of these migrants or immigrants into the country are there legally and therefore actually benefit the country financially overall, because otherwise they wouldn't have been given a visa or green card or anything like that in the first place. They typically have good jobs, often on average much better than the average member of the residents in the country. And therefore, proportionally, they maybe pay a higher level of income tax. And let us not forget also that if they bring in a service, they're going to be creating economies of scale, and they're going to be creating a snowball effect by the skills that they bring in being dispersed and shared amongst the whole working populace and the country as a wider south. However, overall, I think this is a debunked myth. I don't think it's 100% true. Next statement. Immigrants are bringing diseases into our country. Again, I need to say a maybe. Okay, again, it's a very complex situation and it's not clear-cut. So let's look at some of the facts. I will agree that it's possible. And I agree that it creates a high degree of xenophobia, especially now, with the COVID-19 pandemic going on in the world. However, it is highly unlikely that immigrants are, the main people who are bringing this risk or bringing these diseases, especially the legal immigrants. And this is mainly, and I can say this mainly from my own experience, that we have lots of stringent medical tests that you're required to go through for immigration purposes. So I've lived in many countries. I've worked in upwards of 6 countries now. And for a lot of these countries, I have required to get medical certification to be able to migrate there for the purposes of work. And my contracts are normally 3 to 4 years long. I've needed chest x-rays, MRIs, blood tests, cardio checks, HIV tests, and many, many other tests. And therefore, I believe that a lot of the time, the risk of disease is mainly from tourism, actually, or returning residents. And that has been shown in the COVID-19 spread around the world. Most people, and most of the spread has happened by citizens returning to the country or by tourism, not by migration, especially legal migration. And we've already discussed that legal migrants form the main or the largest percentage of migrants into a country. Therefore, again, I think this is a myth that we can call debunked. Moving on. So the next statement is immigrants harm the domestic labor force. This is wrong. This is just, I believe, flat out wrong for many reasons. Alright, so it is possible theoretically to argue that illegal migrants might lower wages and are willing to work for less money and steal jobs. Okay, that's a theoretical argument. We already discussed, and I keep pointing out, that illegal migrants form a very small percentage of overall migrants. I would say though, and you can see my reasons, that it's far more likely that international labor immigration fills a void in the domestic market. It replaces jobs that are undersubscribed by the skills of people in that country, or you just don't have enough people in that country working in that field. You can see this in temporary fruit picking in the UK, to building stadiums for Qatar 2025, I believe, or 2022, the World Cup, and all of these things. They're filling a void. In addition to that, normally jobs are highly competitive around the world, and typically speaking, this can increase the average wage in an area. So if, for example, you're looking at, as in my field, international teaching, I'm a UK citizen, and the UK is having to offer large financial incentives to teachers to stay in the UK because there's so much competition abroad for jobs, and that means that a lot of teachers are preferring to teach abroad because they get paid more money. So this is helping increase the average wage and giving bonuses to teachers in the UK. So we are in fact benefiting the local economy. Now there are other traditional arguments, like we also bring in skills that can be transferable to the domestic market. In international teaching, for example, one of the transferable skills that we bring in is our expertise in technology and also in English. We train up, or we help train up a younger generation to be able to talk English and to be able to enter the global and international business market, which predominantly operates in English. And we've talked about also the multiplier effect before. This encourages growth in other ancillary industries and creates more jobs. This works on the principle that if you're employed in a field and earning money, then you need cleaners and supply staff and food and drinks, all provided by local industries that create this multiplier effect and help the economy overall. So I must say, on average, it is debunked. Theoretically, we can say that it can harm the domestic labour force, but I think on average it creates more benefits than it creates disadvantages, especially considering when the majority of immigrants are legal. Moving on. Immigration creates racial tension. This is obviously very, very topical at present with all of the issues for Black Lives Matters and some of the protests that have been happening around the world. Again, we need to say a maybe, I think, to be fair in this statement. So what do I mean by that? It is demonstrably true, and immigration does create racial tension. Countries that have high percentages of immigrants or high percentages of various degrees or differences in terms of the population do tend to have higher degrees of racial tension as a statistic. As we can see over here, though, racism is defined as prejudice or discrimination or antagonism directed against a person on the basis of their membership to a group of people or ethnicity, or like a minority or somebody who's marginalized. Now, if I'm going to call this a fact, I'm going to call it a fact, but not for the obvious reason of difference. I think the main reason why immigration does create racial tension is mainly because of the politics that is created around it. So immigration and racial tension is based on that of difference. Say, for example, if I'm a UK citizen and I'm moving to the United States of America, I would not really stand out that much. I speak English, we have lots of joint shared cultural elements, and talking about racial perspectives now as well, I would fit in with the majority of the population in the United States of America because I am considered to be white. I think the big racial tension from migration itself, not from anything else, is generated mainly from various groups of people who want to achieve certain political goals. I can't speak with regard to the United States of America over here, but I can talk with regards to Europe. So various nationalist parties in Europe always try and pick on immigrants and say, our country is doing worse because of this, or the NHS is doing poorly because of the immigrants in the country. And they create this self-fulfilling prophecy. They stir up people's dissatisfaction. And even though it might not be correct, it does create a racial tension. This is why I'm going to have to say that overall it's a very sad and unfortunate fact. Next one. Immigrants are more likely to commit crimes. I think this one's pretty clear-cut. On average, this is wrong. So why is it wrong? Okay. Well, I think it's wrong completely for both illegal and legal migrants. So for both documented and undocumented migrants. Now, we have to obviously ignore the crime of them illegally entering the country in the first place, which is a crime. But if we look at data from the United States of America specifically, because they have a lot of available data in this field, we can see that immigrants, both legal and illegal, show some of the lowest crime rates generally, and specifically in violent crimes. And I think this is for a few reasons. Firstly, a psychological one. It takes a very long time for any migrant, and I know this from my own personal perspective, to feel quite confident in a country. You often feel like you're a guest, and when you're a guest, you don't want to displease or you don't want to stand out. You want to try and integrate as much as possible into your new country or your new society that you're living in. So don't underestimate that psychological perspective. Now, if we just look at undocumented immigrants, they want to avoid tension. I mean, I think the worst thing they can do is start committing more crimes, because if they get arrested and they're found out to be undocumented, they're then deported instantly because they are a criminal and undocumented. So they do not fulfill any criteria of given any special consideration because of the crimes that they have committed. Thirdly, most legal immigrants hold professional employment. Like I've said before, we hold jobs that are quite well paid, that are professional jobs. We're normally teachers, scientists, professionals. These types of people, statistically, are less likely to commit crimes. And finally, and I want to point out this very clearly, that most, in fact, I believe all people who are allowed legal migration, we have to go through security checks. The same as if you go on holiday. We're denied entry into the country if we have a history of crime, especially violent or drug-related crime. So we would be barred entry to the country before even entering if we had previously committed crimes. Therefore, because of the way that crime works and get into this crime spiral, we are less likely to commit crimes in future. So overall, as you can see from these statements, I think it's very, very clear that this is debunked. It is not a correct statement. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has cleared up a lot of the myths and a lot of the misconceptions based on migration. If you've enjoyed this video, please like. It does help the channel. And if you'd like to see more content on this, please subscribe for future videos that I'll be making along the same types of geographical discussions and fields. Thank you again for watching, and have a really great day. Goodbye for now.